So, people of the DC Cinematic Universe, today's video is quite an interesting one. Just to let you know, in the back half, if you've seen my community tab, I did a post saying, let's talk about upcoming DC movies. And considering the beginning portion of this video is about The Flash, we're going to keep it to The Flash movie with regards to a few questions and how I feel about it. You guys sent a few in, so I'm looking forward to talking about what you had to ask me about. But yesterday, we got some new looks at the Flash suit, so I thought it would be cool to go over it. Now, this is thanks to Life of Kai on Twitter, as well as the Flash news page, which I do recommend following for any and all updates with regards to the Flash movie film news. So the reason why this is interesting, even though we've seen this in the trailer before, is because we've never had a proper, somewhat high-res look at this suit, and now we see it from top to bottom, and people have got quite mixed opinions. I'm seeing it all over my Twitter feed, all over the hashtag, and I just thought I would give my breakdown on it, because there's parts I've always liked about this suit, even from what we saw in the trailer, and there's parts that are definitely a big no-no for me, and I mean a big no-no. But yeah, let's talk about this. So, again, shout out to the user Life of Kai, because he attended this Las Vegas licensing expo where we saw not only the suits for the Flash and Supergirl, obviously, who's going to be in the Flash movie, but Aquaman, the latest Aquaman suit, Black Manta suit. Again, I love that suit. I love the freaking helmet portion. That is a definition to me of a way to adapt comic book to real life, whilst making it this flamboyant, dorky look, but done so well. Like, genuinely, it's odd how I can take that seriously. Do you know what I mean? That is the way suits should be made. But also, most interestingly, the upcoming Flash movie has piqued people's interest because of all kinds of reasons. It's the Flash movie. This movie has been in development for about 50 centuries now. This movie was meant to come out years and years and years and years ago. That is no exaggeration. And obviously, with the recent reportings of Ezra Miller and the troubles that they have been having, this is obviously a bit of a hot topic now, so let's give my opinion on these images that you're seeing on screen. So as Life of Kai pointed out on his Instagram story, still Ezra Miller. I mean, clearly here on the card, The Flash 2023, Ezra Miller as The Flash. That isn't really going to change if you want to know my thoughts about that. Why aren't they being recast and things like that? I've done whole separate videos on this. Maybe there might be a question or two where we bleed into that in the back half of this video. But as you can see, like, they're still doubling down. Like, Ezra Miller is The Flash. This is Ezra Miller's suit in the upcoming The Flash movie 2023. Let's start off with the positives, because I do have positives about this suit. And just FYI, the lines going throughout the suit are indeed powered up, as you're seeing on screen right now in the trailer, with this somewhat organic lightning, as was described, I believe, a year or two ago at one of the DC fandoms. That is what that lighting is. That is, and there are comic book attributes to this suit. Like, as we know, Barry Allen in that of the source material, in various different iterations, sometimes the suit does have that lining through it with the Speed Force-esque glow. And that is what they're doing with this suit. Obviously, there aren't necessarily LEDs that are just powering up to this suit right now that have those lines lit up, but in your imagination, or from what you've seen on the trailer and what you're seeing on screen right now, that is what makes this suit, arguably, even though this is subjective, look a bit cooler, you know, when the Flash is actually wearing it. But without those lines lit up, obviously they just look like these random lines within the suit to kind of, as in some super suits, somewhat separate different layers of, I guess, muscle, armor, and whatnot. But I do like the boots. There are lots of things, even about the things that I like, that I would change. This is the kind of gold material that I just love in a Flash boot. Honestly, it looks so shiny, it's so glossy. It's the kind of thing, like, that reminds me of a PS3 kind of gloss. I mean, if you touched it too much, it would be so smudged and stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're making a superhero suit, don't get me wrong, the Flash CW suit, even in a lot of people's minds with regards to what they're commenting about right now, is a better looking suit than this one. But I do argue that this gold material on the boot is better than the gold material on the boots of that production. But at the same time, obviously bigger budget, kind of cooler, glossy, and metallic looking gold boots here. You've got the red going throughout it. I don't mind that as much because looks can be deceiving. If you zoom in a little bit here, maybe as I'm doing on screen, you do have gold, but it's not all gold. You can clearly see that there's a little bit of a red pattern there, and one cool thing I find about that is it kind of reminds me of the Flash CW series. The little kind of lightning cutouts they got there is a similar kind of pattern to that of what's been on the glove of the suit, or even the boots in previous seasons. I can't remember if they've got that pattern on the most recent season, the Flash Season 8 Golden Boots. By the way, they've decided to show that little kind of striking red cutout with this red part going down the kind of shin area of the boot here. So overall, I think the boots look really, really interesting. As for the general material of the suit, it is a bit, like, debatable here. In the trailer and some, like, leaked photos and whatnot, it's got, like, this kind of shiny, rubbery look to it, which, again, it doesn't look as bad in the trailers, but, again, it's kind of got that minuscule, like, texture over it, which, you know, is reminding people of something else, we should say, which makes me laugh. Let me just say it this way. The Witcher Season 1 armor, you remember that joke for Nilfgaard? People are saying similar kind of texture pattern on this armor. When you look up close, that is. But getting to other parts, the ab armor. I'm not a massive fan of this. I know I'm not alone in this. Again, everyone has different preferences. I know it is reflected in the comic books as well. That, you know, quite often, even the Flash isn't actually as lean and as athletic as you would imagine. Sometimes he's actually quite big and has big abs. So that's what they've tried to give here, but I do agree with several other people saying this, and I've always said this. I kind of dislike what they've done with the Aquaman suit as well, bringing out the ab armor. The ab armor here is very exaggerated. It feels like it belongs in the 90s. I'm not opposed to some ab armor, so to speak, even like, you know, underneath. But when it's as exaggerated like this in like that of old Roman armor, it just reminds me of the 90s. This is just my own personal taste. I still don't think it ruins the suit or anything as extreme or as exaggerated as that. It's just, I don't think it's completely necessary. I feel like what they've done on the Supergirl suit there, with the very subtle kind of extrusion of little bits of ab protection, is a more stylistic choice, in my opinion. The logo, absolutely zero issues with it. Again, one thing I like about this suit in terms of like the fact that we've got a new suit now from that of Snyder's one, and you know, there are aspects I like about the Snyder's one, but the bolt looks really cool. I really like that. It's high quality. That's one thing about this suit, as much as you may disagree with, they wanted to put money into it. So the gold trimming around the emblem there, beautiful. I like the creative use behind the kind of white that they're bringing out in the logo. I believe it's a bit of a metallic aspect to it as seen in the logo that you're seeing on screen. So that's all cool. One thing that was pointed out by Flash TV News and lots of other people as well is that Flash seems to have some kind of device on the underside of his wrist here, like where Batman's van braces would be, if you know what I mean. And that is super interesting. Now this, you know, chuck your theories down in the comments below. But this could be used to kind of measure Barry's speed, maybe, because as we know, Andy Muschietti did say that Bruce, his friend Bruce, gave him this suit. So I have to believe the friend Bruce is Ben Affleck's Bruce rather than Keaton's. That just makes more sense to me. So maybe Bruce is like, so hey, yeah, maybe you can like, you know, look at your stats, if you will, or like how much energy you are building up. Kinetic energy, that is, when you're running. I can't really figure out as to what it would be, because some people are suggesting that maybe it's to measure Barry's running through that of time or the multiverse, but at the same time, no pun intended, I don't see why, if at the beginning of the movie Barry gets this suit, assuming he does at the beginning of the movie, why Ben Affleck's Batman would be like, hey, you know, if you happen to be skipping multiverses and running back in time, I put this on there for you. That's just way too contrived. Like, I don't get why it doesn't make sense to me that Ben Affleck's Batman would put something on his wrist to measure something that he's actually going to go and do, which if Batman had any say in that, he would probably be like, yeah, don't do that. Don't go to a different universe. Don't get yourself in a whole situation which is even giving us the plot of said Flashpoint movie. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it is just a measuring device of some kind that I won't refute that could still come in handy. Barry could, like, you know, calculate it to still measure whatever he's doing throughout different universes and different timey-wimey things. It could come in handy still for that, even if it wasn't intended to initially have that effect. But either way, some kind of thing here. It could be something as simple as pressing it and maybe the suit just disappears back into the Flash ring. I doubt it. Don't forget that this suit will also be coming out of the Flash ring, most likely, since we do have Ezra's Barry Allen having a Flash ring, which Ezra has actually kept after the movie and was actually confiscated in an evidence bag as seen in that TMZ video. To be a bit positive again, love the metallic lightning bolts of the belt, but there's something missing about it. I really do believe that. That's a common complaint that some people are saying. There should have been some. I'm not saying it had to be connected, because most certainly they would have had designs where it was, and they still opted for this. But it seems a bit too high up on the waist. Maybe a little bit lower would be good. Or maybe it's not necessarily that. It's still high up, but like they could have angled it to be a bit more central rather than going down like that, which gives it the illusion of being higher than what it is. And before I get to the worst part, to be honest, I've seen some fan edits as well, and obviously the Flash's suit is red. I have no quarrels with that, so to speak, but some people have been contrasting it in fan edits with, like, you know, putting some darker parts of red or even just blackish kind of colors around certain bits, and it breaks up the red in such a way which is really appealing to the point where it's like, oh man, maybe I actually would prefer this over than just an all red. But I do want to just say at the same time, that is easy to do in the sense of, oh, that looks cooler, but maybe the way they wanted to break it up is through what I was mentioning earlier, and that is the Speed Force lightning coursing throughout the suit where the black lines are, which is probably why they didn't actually cut parts of the armor away, as you can see where the lines actually separate the different parts of armor. Some people have done the fan edits where they've actually put a whole black color there and it actually looks pretty badass, but I do think that their intended design was to achieve that with the lightning bolts. Now let's get on to the final part, and that is the cowl. I don't like it. It's pretty bad. It just is. Everyone picked this up in the trailers. Sometimes face on, it looks cool. One of the first complaints that people had is in this shot that you're seeing on screen. Barry Allen's little cowl bit that goes over the nose is basically almost like that much up higher than... It's not even resting on the bridge of his nose at points. But that's not even it, because sometimes it looks like they fixed that or something like that. It's like he's a xenomorph from Alien. There's certain photos going around that you're probably seeing on screen right now. You can't see it from the face-on part here. But his head, it doesn't go round. Like, I've got a big-ass head, right? It doesn't go round and down. It's like Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where it just goes back like this. It's like there's another head tilted sideways going back. It's like, why? Why? I ask you again, why did you do that? Like, this may sound like a really extreme response to the suit. Again, like it, dislike it. I'm very all over the place with it. But one thing I won't understand and can't understand is what you're seeing on screen. Like, what the hell is that? Why is it going down, out, and... It's just so strange. And one thing actually I want to mention is on this stand here, the collar part isn't visible. It looks like there is no collar, because as you're seeing on screen right now, you can see that there's a bit of a collar in the back. That was another common complaint of the suit. Practicality of a costume can be so that you have the cowl going underneath. It's like, you know, if I had a cowl going and tucking underneath this hoodie here, you would have some kind of overlap here with the back of the suit. It's just some people's complaints were that it was almost deliberately pointing up as if it was a collar, but here it doesn't even seem to have that disconnect, you know? It's just one seamless thing. So who knows really how it's finally gonna look. But those are my thoughts on the suit. Overall, I think most people aren't too happy. As for me, there's parts I like about it. Again, I do try and look at it right now with the lightning going through it, and I think, yeah, alright, you know, that's kind of cool. But there's things I would certainly change. More things I would change than not change. The cowl is the most disappointing part of the suit, unfortunately. But yeah, let's now get on some questions. I thought I'd pick out a few because, you know, it's always fun to have a bit of discussion about this movie because we have yet to obviously see it. It's been in production for a long time. It's got a lot of controversy surrounding the lead star of the movie. And also its importance to the DC universe going forward is instrumental. This movie's intended effect is to somewhat soft reboot and solidify the ripple effects from here on out with their future movies. You know, it's a big deal, which is why they're not willing to screw with the existing product despite recent reports surrounding Ezra Miller. So the first question is coming from CZ Chameleon. If The Flash is supposed to bring Keaton to the DCEU, but Batgirl will have him first, since The Flash will come out later, do you think that some changes in the scripts were made for it to make sense, or will they play it out like the Flashpoint happened before Batgirl, and the Flash movie will therefore be like a prequel story to the story of Batgirl? So, first and foremost, there's no confirmation, even though I totally understand why you're saying that Batgirl will come out first. Now, there's every reason I understand to believe why it will, because with Aquaman, the Flash movie, etc., getting delayed with those movie delay updates that we got quite a little while ago now, Batgirl wasn't announced as delayed, which puzzled a lot of people, including myself. There's still ambiguity surrounding this, because quite simply what you're pointing out, like, Keaton is in the Batgirl movie, and not only that, we have J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, or maybe, you know, with some of the flashbacks in the Batgirl movie, we'll be going to his earlier detective days, and he's Ben Affleck's Batman's Gordon. So it really does seem as though, especially with behind-the-scenes rumors, that Keaton was going to take over more or less from Affleck, even though it does seem as though that the Snyderverse could be in its own little existing pocket universe, even though the DCEU will be establishing a main canonical universe from here on out after the Flash movie with those said repercussions. And that is also, first and foremost, Michael Keaton being a bit more of that mentor role, Batgirl filling the kind of protector role, and little bits and pieces from here on out. So I don't know what to fully answer with this, because I'm still expecting any day now a Batgirl delay. Like, you know, the Flash movie is coming out June 2023. Batgirl finished not too long ago in filming. You know, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't wrap filming that long ago. So I have to think, like, surely it will still be coming out after the Flash movie. It's just that they haven't announced it yet. But yeah, if it does, just to entertain this idea, come out before the Flash movie, there would have definitely have been some things maybe to shift things around. Because at the end of the day, it's a movie that was intended in every aspect and corner to be a repercussion, or should I say, a movie that came out after the Flash movie, because things have changed in the Flash movie, as we just went over. New characters, Sasha Calais, Supergirl, etc. They could just kind of keep it almost self-contained, some people say this, and just pretend it's in just Keaton's universe, or like a universe. But then again, I just keep thinking, but what about J.K. Simmons? And then some people say, like, well, to be fair, J.K. Simmons could be just a variant version of the Gordon from the Snyderverse, so it could work that way. It's still Gordon, just another Gordon. But still, I see the gaping hole of, like, no, clearly they intended J.K. Simmons from, you know, the Justice League run, Ben Affleck's Batman, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, like that J.K. Gordon to be the post-Flashpoint Gordon, just with Keaton's Batman. So, you know, long story short, I'm still expecting a delay. If not, I think they're just going to keep it as its own story. How would they do that? They're just going to have to kind of weave something in there that, I don't know, somehow makes it its own thing. Maybe they might just not even address it as being a part of this larger movie, even though that was the intended effect with its release date originally being after The Flash. Maybe it can just still be its own thing. It's like, oh, hey, like, wait, now we understand how that happened, as you said. But next question is from Morgie39, saying that The Flash seems like it's trying to do a lot. I hope it's not as chaotic as it sounds. After all of this, delays, Ezra's issues, do you think they'll make more solo Flash movies for the DCEU? Very interesting question. I think no matter what, that was the intention. When, yeah, let's just say no controversy surrounded Ezra Miller, a Flash sequel would be in the works sometime after that. There's such potential in characters there because, for example, with this movie, they could still be in some way, shape, or form teasing the Reverse Flash if he's not the main antagonist of this movie, because there's all kinds of rumors that the other version of Barry that we see in the movie is not the Reverse Flash, but could be filling the role of, like, this other version of Barry for some reason or another, whether it's jealous or it's just something, some agenda in his head is just like, well, screw you, I'm going to be a dark version of the Flash and try and not let you do this, that, or the other. So for all intents and purposes, not the Reverse Flash, but some kind of Reverse Flashy role. I don't know there, even though to me that just sounds like they might be actually making that other Barry the Reverse Flash, and it's literally a reverse Ezra Miller, Barry Allen Flash. So they could be doing that stamp on the can. I really don't know how I'd feel about that, because I do love the idea of Eobard Thawne, because it's freaking Eobard Thawne. So that's the reason why I'm talking about all of that, is because there's such potential for sequel movies. I think for now that even though Warner Brothers have reportedly, from insiders, I believe, held any kind of future Ezra Miller projects, I think they're still going to wait for the dust to settle. They're still releasing this movie, and with that very fact there, with the dust settling in some way, shape, or form, even though people will not forget, I don't think they will, there's a lot of majority of general audience who will still be like, oh, entertaining movie, oh, that was fun, and maybe go and see the next one as well. If not, of course, they can recast and just keep it on that way, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is no recasting. It's just such an interesting issue to ponder, but no matter what, more Flash movies were always a part of the roadmap. It just they might be waiting for the weather to change, the seasons to change, before maybe even getting to that sequel. Rather than getting there sooner, like they may have originally planned, they might try and leave quite a bit of time between it. Alright, so Comics Animations 18 says, for the Flash movie, do you actually want the Reverse Flash in the movie, or do you feel like the Reverse Flash is overused, especially after Armageddon? Should they take the Batman route and not use the Nemesis as the main villain for the first movie? So I actually, maybe some people will disagree with me here, don't feel like just because the Reverse Flash has been prominently featured in the CW, mean that should have any knock-on effect to the movie. In a certain perspective, it does, because you could argue hundreds of thousands and millions of people know that character already. But I don't feel like that should nor take away or rob that adaptation in a movie budget level of that character, because it's still so prestigious. There still hasn't been a Flash movie done, if you think about it that way. So the possibility of the amazing performance and cool, incredible ways they could adapt the Reverse Flash is still so relevant on a movie level. We're talking about the CW here. It's been fun, but it's also been very downhill. So I don't think, personally for me, that it's taken away from my desire to want to see the Reverse Flash in a larger production. So do I actually want to see the Reverse Flash in this movie? Oh, hell yes. I don't know what they're going to do there, though. And do I want to see the Reverse Flash in a movie with all of the context of how much they're seeming to try and do and kind of shove in this movie? And God, is it going to make sense to maybe even put a Reverse Flash in there when you just have all of this mess going on anyway? If anything, maybe I could revise my answer there, because you could argue then to include the Reverse Flash in a plot like that could almost be a disservice to the character's screen time with what they could achieve if they dedicated that character to the second movie fully fledged with not really many other distractions. Again, the Reverse Flash could still come in the way I mentioned, even though Barry is helping out this universe, as Michael Keaton kind of teased. You could go to any universe, any world, wherever. Like, why, I can't, this is such an abbreviation, so do not take my words literally. Because, like, why come to this one or help save this one or something? Like, Barry is clearly helping out Michael Keaton's universe, that world, and the Barry of that world could still be, as aforementioned in this video, their Reverse Flash. And again, that would be a hard sell for me, even though I get what they would be going for. I prefer some kind of actual casting for, like, in the Flash movie, it turns out to be, like, in the Flashpoint movie, that is, let's just say we didn't know about how this movie was already going, because, by the way, if you didn't know already, it's not a strict adaptation of Flashpoint. Flashpoint, Barry screws with time. In this movie, it's very multiversal. It's, like, definitely Flashpoint, as Andy Muschietti said, but not the way you kind of expected, or something like that, if I remember correctly. So, again, it's got quite a bit of Flashpoint in there. Barry, as seen in the trailers, clearly tapping on his mother's shoulder, kind of, you know, he's going there to see his mum, so to speak. But it is not going to be straight up, which is why Eobard Thawne might not be a prominent figure, or even be in it at all, or to be put down to that of the DCEU version is the other Barry. For some reason, just hates this Barry, or just, I don't know, we still don't know yet. But it's really ambiguous, and I am kind of concerned that they're going to make Barry play the Reverse Flash. I get, again, what they're going for. I get how that's appealing for the actor, because they get to play both hero and both villain. Certainly there is an audience for that as well, because, you know, there's plenty of roles that have been done in TV shows and movies where that's a very interesting thing. But I want Eobard Thawne, man. I just want straight up Eobard Thawne. I don't want a Flash who's got a really big grudge on another universe's version of himself, thus dedicates himself to always being the reverse of what his other Barry Allen version of him is. But then again, I could be totally misinterpreting the theories there, and you can chuck in a theory of how this was never Barry. Like, the Barry Allen Ezra Miller that we see in the trailer is just wearing the face of this Barry, and he actually killed him. Like, it could be Thawne still. Like, who knows what they could do? Ultimately, long story short, I do want Eobard Thawne in the DCEU, I'll put it that way. In this movie, I just don't have enough of a scope without an official trailer to really comment on that with what they're really getting into. With regards to the Batman comparison, though, I do get that, but that's because there's been quite a few iterations of Batman now, whereas I don't think that's so applicable with, you know, translating that onto this Flash movie with regards to the Nemesis comment, because we just haven't seen it all that much. Yes, we have on the CW, but there's still millions and millions of other general moviegoers and other fans who just wouldn't tune into the Flash show. Sure, maybe they did in Season 1, but think how long ago Season 1 was now with Tom Cavanagh's and Matt Letcher's Eobard Thawne. That's enough time for them to maybe want another Reverse Flash, despite seeing the Reverse Flash a few more times in that of the CW's Flash run. Up next is from Chris M saying, this Flash movie sounds like a disaster to me, and I'm a huge fan of the Flashpoint storyline and pretty much anything DC. That being said, do you have any hope for this movie? Because I'm getting scared. The disaster aspect is, I understand, it comes from all kinds of corners. But that being said, I don't necessarily think it will be a disaster movie. I do have faith in Andy Muschietti just creating a movie that will be entertaining. Let me put it that way. There's going to be cameos. We're getting Ben Affleck's Batman. We're getting Michael Keaton. We're getting Supergirl. Who knows what is tucked behind other curtains? You know, Michael Shannon Zod. That's been said to be shown in the trailer at CinemaCon, was it? I can't remember. All kinds of potential there for fan service. So that's what I mean. The story thematically could be, like, nice. But yeah, there are disaster aspects. This movie has been in the works for so long. Ezra Miller's controversies now, in recent reports, does not look good. Like, it does not look good. Like, people are turned off the main star now. Now, without repeating too much of how the dust might settle, and that's what Warner Brothers are hoping for, ultimately, you know, when we're going in a basic PR aspect here and angle, they're just thinking, we're not going to reshoot this movie. It's already in the can. We're not going to do that. These are reports at the end of the day. And if we don't comment on it, you know, maybe it's just kind of brushed under the bed. You know, at the end of the day, things do settle. Whether you disagree strongly there, and it may not settle for everyone, it will settle for a lot of people, and they'll still go see the movie. You know, I'm still going to see this movie. They're getting their ticket there. That's, you know, they're not going to address it because of that reason. Addressing it only inflames that wound. Not that I condone anything. I'm just saying, if you're working in public, the publicity of this, you would just kind of write it out and hope for the best and hope nothing else gets reported about Ezra Miller, I suppose, even though that was probably their initial stance, and then something else did, you know, apparently happen with multiple reports coming out. But another aspect is that Deadline reported, and this is definitely about the Flash movie, they reported without naming the film, a high-profile comic book movie set to debut next year recently had its final script submitted to the WGA for screenwriting credit. And insiders tell Deadline that a staggering 45 writers had some sort of involvement with the script at various stages throughout the development process. Now, that is just interesting. They go and say that the likelihood that all those writers will get credit is basically impossible, according to one source close to the project. And while this might represent an extreme example before everyone gets mega carried away here, having as many as 20 writers involved on a script has become all too common. But yeah, 45... it just doesn't surprise me. Again, there's no confirmation that this is the Flash movie, but what other movie that is coming out in 2023... superhero-wise, and has been in development for as long as the Flash movie has, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, it's the Flash movie that's had 45 screenwriters contribute to that script. It's a bit of a weird situation, because let's say the Ezra Miller controversies and reports never happened at all. I do think that this movie would be... it's going to be, I think, a success financially regardless, because so many people are going to see it, I believe. But that has definitely damaged it, no matter what. I think it has damaged it. But again, ignoring that, pretending it never happened, with Keaton coming back, fans knowing Ben Affleck's in it, this movie and the character being a speedster, traveling, in time and the multiverse and whatnot, it's an appealing story that I think will be entertaining. Now, will the writing be good? I don't know. Say what you will about Multiverse of Madness, entertaining movie, but the script isn't actually all that, in my opinion, and there's lots of contrivances and plot holes. So that could be the same with this movie, but the movie still gets lots and lots and lots of ticket sales. So I do think that it's not going to be a disaster. That's an extreme thing to label on this movie in prediction, and I don't think it will be a disaster. But I don't think it will necessarily do as well as it could have done. And in terms of even assuming none of the crap happened with Ezra Miller, the movie would probably be quite entertaining, bottom line. Even though it could spark new controversies surrounding what have they done to Superman? Will Superman be erased? What are they doing there permanently? That could spark annoyance in fans with whatever they're deciding. Because again, don't forget that this movie is meant to be the new movie that, with whatever the Flash does, kind of as in Flashpoint, even though this is kind of different, will solidify new characters, will, basically echo throughout the DCEU canon from here on out. That's what it's going to do. So there can be decisions made in this movie that's going to piss people off. There's another factor as well. Batman. What are they going to do with Batfleck? Is Batfleck going to be sent off in a way that appeases the Snyder fans? All kinds of things. Who really knows? I think I'm going to end this video here, guys, because even though I've got some more questions, I can see on my recording screen that it's been going for quite a while, so I just wanted to have a little bit of a nerd-out conversation about not only the suit, because the best look we've got so far, but also just, everything that's going into the wheel that is still rolling with the Flash movie, that is still coming to our screens next year. So let me know your thoughts on not only the suit, but also obviously what we got into with regards to the questions. I do recommend checking out the Twitter pages for who I plugged earlier, for who provided the photos. Those links will be in a description down below, so you can see them yourself if you want to zoom in. Obviously, credit to those people as well. But thank you so much for watching, everybody. Give this video a like if you did enjoy it. I really appreciate that support. It helps boost me up in the algorithm a bit. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you fellow speedsters in the next video. Goodbye.